Back in the 1990s, I managed to secure for myself entry to an inner circle of hell by arguing that in general, children were best served by being brought up by their own mother and father. Of course, I said, some marriages would always fail, and of course, many lone parents did a heroic job in bringing up their children. But surely it was best to avoid such disadvantage wherever possible. This was denounced as heartless, cruel, anti-feminist, and of course, right-wing. Somewhat to my surprise, therefore, I was approached by a TV producer to make a film about my views on the destruction of the nuclear family. Since I was already cancelled in all the best circles, I asked the producer why he wanted to publicize my views. "You're so reactionary, you're now in the very vanguard of progress," he replied. Given what I then went on to say in subsequent years about the destruction of education, multiculturalism, the demonization of men, Islamization, and anthropogenic global warming theory, I obviously became so progressive I managed to advance to the very end of time itself and meet myself coming back. Now, the onslaught on the traditional family was an early example of a world turned upside down, in which certain kinds of disadvantage became a human right, victim status weaponized bullying and bigotry against those who were denied this status, and untold numbers of children were sacrificed on the altars of mass fatherlessness, the willful promotion of ignorance in the classroom, and the infantilization of adults. This all-out onslaught on the nation and its core social and moral norms has created what is now an age of unreason. Language has been hijacked and evacuated of meaning. Anti-racism means people are now judged and damned, not for the content of their character, but on the white color of their skin. People with male genitalia are said to be women and are indeed hailed as female role models. Dissent from any of this means vilification, character assassination, and intimidation. It's reminiscent of the Salem witch hunts and the Soviet show trials. Liberal tolerance has been replaced by cultural totalitarianism, and not just by the usual suspects on the left, but now by many of the professions, many businesses, and I'm afraid to say, across Whitehall. In short, we are living through a 5-decades-old revolution. Now, as we know, conservatism was supposedly created when Edmund Burke defended the cultural architecture of a free society that depended on traditional institutions. Burke wasn't actually a conservative. He was, in many respects, a radical, opposing the unrestrained power of the monarchy and supporting the revolting colonials in America. But he did understand the acute threat the French revolutionaries posed to civilized life under the guise of progress. Today, we have the equivalent of the guillotine in cancel culture. Our own Committee of Public Safety, orchestrating a dictatorial reign of terror, is composed of the Labour Party under Sir Keir Starmer and the university vice-chancellors. And just as Danton and Robespierre were themselves finally consumed by the conflagration they'd unleashed, today's revolution is also eating its own, as one-time radical feminists are purged by those who believe that biological fact is fiction. And fascism. And yet, we have no Burke. The understanding of what it's vital to conserve today has collapsed. Instead, we have some conservatives who support mass immigration to bring down wages and do the jobs native Brits can't or won't do. Controlled immigration absolutely enhances a nation, but uncontrolled immigration can bring it to its knees. Conservative Party candidates for Parliament are given lessons on white resentment in diversity and inclusion training sessions via the party's online training platform and are being offered unconscious bias training. Conservative Party candidates. A Conservative government that genuflected to a hysterical teenager predicting the end of the world is actively promoting scientifically illiterate climate catastrophism and net zero goals which would take us all back to a pre-modern age. A Conservative government. A Conservative government is silently wringing its hands but silently presiding over a cancel culture which is destroying people's livelihoods and their physical and mental health.